After 6 races, tonight brings us to our finale for Series 14. For some, it will be a do or die. For others, they can throw caution to the wind. Who will thrive as we get ready for the PCA Sim Racing Series 14 Pro Class? You'll see it all live here on RaceSpotTV. I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Ewan O'Leary. Behind the scenes is our director, Ramiro Cisneros. We're thrilled to have Princess Cruises as the 2025 PCA title sponsor. As the official cruise vacation partner of Series 14, they provide exclusive offers, including world-leading itineraries across a fleet of 17 elegant ships sailing to more than 330 global destinations. Reach out to the PCA concierge team to book your next adventure today by calling 833-679-2188. Before we look forward, of course, we have to look back a little bit at our schedule we've gone through, Ewan.
Yeah, and a very schedule it has been all the way through as well. No circuit quite like the one we've got coming up last. A trip back to America for the first time since round 4. And as I say, a very, very different circuit compared to the rest. And it's been 3 weeks since Zolder, don't forget as well. So you may have forgotten the scenario. Still a very, very close championship, glad to say, in all 4 classes heading into these 2 weeks.
That's exactly what we want, especially here. 70 points with 350 maximum up for grabs. That means that Bryce Rodriguez will have to finish 3rd or better if he wants to clinch. So it's high expectations if he wants to seal it, no matter what anybody else does. Blake Townend can easily steal it off him. Arthur Chan is a distant hope, but he'll have to hope for both of his rivals to really falter at the finish line here if he wants to take the title. Everybody else is mathematically out of it at this stage. And now that we are into qualifying, much like it has been in the practice session, Townend and Rodriguez are on the top of the charts, but Townend holds the provisional pole.
Yeah, and I think this week maybe there's a little bit more crowd around them, actually. Matthew Siddle less than 4 tenths behind Townend at the moment, but this is a good qualifying lap from Blake Townend, who really needed it tonight. I think he needs to be at the head of the field at the beginning here so that, he can try and get Bryce Rodriguez to lose some places. Rodriguez can seal the title with any spot on the podium, whether that's 1st or 3rd or 2nd, indeed. But therefore, Townend needs other people to overtake him, and if he's leading the field, he can maybe just defend a little bit more from Rodriguez than what he otherwise would do, and try to push him down the order. Definitely the odds stacked against him tonight, though.
And it looks like Rodriguez is slow on, he's taken all 3 of his laps. He doesn't have a 4th, so that's it. At best, he will be on the outside of the front row, nearly 2 tenths behind Townend on 1 lap pace, which is unusual. Typically, we see these 2 drivers just a little bit tighter than that. Townend has wrapped up his 3 and sets down a 1:46.493. Now, we do still have Thomas Isabel out there, but it looks like his final lap is not going to improve. So the chances of those 2 being overtaken are very slim now.
Yeah, it seems like it. But yeah, nearly 2 tenths between them is quite far. Say, monitoring the practice times, pretty sure Bryce Rodriguez ended that session ahead of Blake Townend by a 10th or so, and so maybe that is telling for the race, and maybe we're going to see better race pace from Bryce Rodriguez. But it was qualifying that was really Blake Townend's undoing 3 weeks ago at Zolder. He ended up finishing in 4th place, but he qualified a long way down, outside the top 10, maybe even outside the top 15. Can't quite remember, but it was certainly a long way down. So this being a sort of change in for the better for Blake Townend is a good start.
Yeah, the 4th place that he had back in Belgium essentially lost in the points lead. So that was a big swing. And as they come here to the final round, he now has to dig out of the hole and doing everything he needs to, putting it on pole. But like you said, he does have to hope for a little bit of misfortune for Bryce Rodriguez, or maybe a mistake. That said, it's still a bit of a tall order to hope for a podium here. You have to work hard for that, and we'll see if he can do it. As the qualifying officially about to wrap up, even though all the cars have managed to set a lap by this stage. Should give us a chance to go through our starting order a little bit later. First, we're going to take a look at how Blake managed that pole lap and nearly put himself 2 tenths ahead of his rival. That right there, to me, is a very good sign that he puts that big of a gap, which, especially in the pro class here, Ewan, that's highly unusual.
Yeah, it is pretty unusual, really. And that is, as you say, very, very good news as a result. I would say that maybe it's not the most uncommon thing ever around this circuit. Remember how technical it is, the rises and falls, the many turns that they have to the right and left, and such a circuit you need practice on as well, so little room for error. I'd imagine some of those down the back who didn't get times in were not able to because of difficulty of qualifying around here. It's so easy to fall off the road.
Yeah, and when you fall off the road, you really fall off the road. It is slanted downhill on a number of the spots in the grass. Looks like we're getting ready to take a look at that lap. Why don't you tell us how Townend did it?
Yeah, down in towards turn number 1, spotting your braking point for this very long hairpin. Can't really go around the outside here at all because of this, the traction zone, which is tricky, just still turning to the right before the most difficult braking zone, really going around a bend while you're trying to slow down here into turn 3. Hitting that apex just in time, using that little bit of extra tarmac on the left-hand side. Sharp apex here through the next left-hander, opening out turn 5 really, and then 5-8. Because this effectively is a bit of a straight section really, even though there's a bit of a chicane afterwards. It's completely flat out, straight through the middle. It's a bit of a run really until you get to the actual S's themselves, where you finally do have to lift off around halfway up through here, up through 6th gear. Pretty planted in qualifying, breathing off the throttle just slightly over the top of the hill and then into South Bend where you really do have to slow down. Very easy to fall as the road falls away from you there, to fall off the road on the grass on the right hand side. Again, braking round a corner, coming into Oak Tree, making that all one corner really there through turn 11 and 12. Again, looking for the late apex, the good exit onto this back straight. You can see an alternative pit area on the left hand side just a moment ago. Racing happens down the other end of the racetrack, the south end. Now in towards turn 14, the end of the back straight. This will be the best overtaking chance on the lap, and another difficult braking zone. Going over the top of the hill, car runs away from you a little bit down here, and be really careful of this braking zone down the bottom of the hill here. It's going through 16, sharply on the brakes in time for 17. And then again, careful on the power because you can get overexcited and just understeer your way off the road, and there's a lot of grass out there for you to go and chew up if you get it wrong. Keeping it tight to the right-hand side on that run up towards the line on this front straight, as it's called. It isn't very straight, though. And that was his last lap. That was his best lap, Blake Townend. Good enough for pole position.
A 46.493 for him. And definitely did the job well. As with the warm-up finishing up, that's a chance to go through our starting order for today's race. It should be fascinating, especially with other drivers unable to take the championship. Surely they can throw a little bit more caution to the wind compared to our two rivals. Blake Townend on the pole. Championship leader Rodriguez will start to his outside. Matthew Siddall will start from 3rd, and Thomas Isabel will be 4th. Logan Grotto starts P5 today with Chris Pies in the 6th position. From there, Arthur Chan, the other championship hopeful, the dark horse, starting 7th. They'll have a lot of work to do from there. Kevin Jokel will be in 8th. Then it's Shea McNeely starting 9th, and then the top 10 is rounded out by Jonathan Waltman. Kerry Brooks will begin from the 11th spot, and Michael Patterson will start from 12th. In row 7, it's Thomas Briggs to the inside with Eric Sutton on the outside. Matthew Jokel will start in P15, and then Rodney Campbell in 16th. After that, it's Enrico Gregorato 17th, and Chad Henson will start in 18th. Sylvester Canny starts in 19th. Top 20 going to be rounded out by Lee Peterson. You've got Christopher Cook in 21st, with James Huth starting in 22nd, and then Terrence Tong in 23rd, flanked by Joachim Baker in P24. Quarter century mark will be Rich Meekler. He'll have Ben Leung in company on that row, with Brett Holmes in 27th, and Justin Sang in 28th, Ryan LeMay in 29th. Last two drivers were unable to set a time. We'll see if they can charge through the field here in this last race of the season. 20 seconds left, and if you got anything to prove from here, Ewan, I mean, you got to do it now.
Yep, you've got to do it because it's the last round of this Pro Class season. And the one thing I'd really say before this race begins to Blake Townend, probably if I was advising him, which I'm not, but if I was, don't leave anything out on the table tonight. Know at the end of this season, if it's not going to be your title, which if I was pushed for a prediction, I would say it probably is going to go Bryce Rodriguez's way. I'd say he's certainly favourite heading into this last round of the season. If I had one piece of advice for Townend, it would be don't leave anything on the table, because he is a long way behind, 70 points. He's got to do a lot to get Rodriguez pushed down the field, and that's not by executing a normal race like you normally would. Obviously, normal rules do apply in some senses. Trying to win is absolutely paramount, I think, for for Blake Townend. But he's got to also focus on Rodriguez. How can I get him to lose positions without doing anything egregious that's going to get me a penalty? And that's where the whole, don't leave anything out on the table comes in. I wouldn't like to see him dominate this race and win it by 5 seconds out front of the field the whole time, because that wouldn't be doing all he can to try and win this title, because that wouldn't be enough if he's not trying to disrupt Rodriguez in some way.
Yep, it's basically going to need some sort of perfect race from Townend and then a little bit of hope from others for him to have it. But you just never know what might happen. This is a very difficult track. You mentioned how technical it is, and it can pitch drivers off of it in the blink of an eye. Mistakes can wind up being costly here. So even though both of our championship hopefuls, all three of our championship hopefuls, will have to push hard, they cannot overstep their bounds, or it could wind up being costly as we head out on our pace lap that will take us just down the end of Madison Avenue into the roller coaster, which, as its name implies, has an incredible drop. I've actually been to this track a number of times in person, and the sim just does not do it justice. It's a massive hill.
I can imagine. I know a lot of places in the world like that where you just can't quite believe it when you see it in the real world, just how steep it is. Racetracks can be very steep, and generally they're better when they're placed upon hills. So hopefully this race is another proving of that point.
I have great confidence it will be. And as the pace car heads in, Townend and Rodriguez are given control of the field. Who will get the jump down into the horseshoe? It could be critical here today to get that track position. Townend theoretically should have the advantage with the inside, but he's going to have to be on his marks as soon as the green comes out. And there it is. The green flag is out, and Rodriguez does not get the jump on Townend. Blake is ahead as they come down towards that first corner. Question is, can he manage to execute into this first turn? Yes, he does. Nice and tidy. In fact, looks like Bryce might have a little bit of a problem because Matthew Siddall is going to challenge him for second, but he's not through.
Yeah, it's a long way around the outside at turn number 1, but Rodriguez held firm. And if you can manage that, you can get the inside in time for turn 2 and then turn 3, which Siddall was going to, and 4, which Siddall was never going to get round the outside of. So Rodriguez holds on to second. Then it's Siddall and Isabel. In fact, none of the top 7 places have changed, going down to Offerchan in that 7th position. Further back, there's been a little bit more change, but no incidents through the first sector.
Tells you how difficult it is to find an edge in this pro class, that the top 7 haven't changed at all in this first half of the lap. Usually at least one position would have swapped around, you would think. Meanwhile, out of South Bend, down to the famous Oak Tree corner, while it might not have the tree there anymore, you can still see a lot of action as some of them get very close in this tricky braking zone, but they need to line up the exit, Ewan.
Yeah, it's that late apex, that run onto the back straight that you're looking for on the way towards the roller coaster. And these are where the overtakes are going to happen here tonight. Siddall and Isabel not very close to Bryce Rodriguez, and there immediately is the scenario. Even with Blake Townend doing all he's doing, he's still 40 points away from Rodriguez in the championship. That's a bit wide from Siddall as well. Rodriguez will gain an even bigger advantage on the road right now as that battle for third intensifies.
Yeah, Townend definitely needs Siddall to maybe hustle a little bit, but it doesn't look like he's got the measure, at least at the start of this race. That could change around as Rodriguez continues to just shadow the 5.75 down to the first corner. Meanwhile, Siddall and Isabel continuing to fight for that third position. A little bit of contact into, the roller coaster, and Minkler absolutely clobbers the tire barrier.
Yeah, that's a pretty hard hit on the... and you can see the rear right suspension isn't going to pull the car anywhere. Eric Sutton got through the first few corners cleanly, but unfortunately not the whole first sector. And this is how he got a meatball. spun to the left-hand side, and he's a little bit harsh getting a meatball for that. But his rear right tyre also not moving anywhere because of damage there. So 2 meatballs on the first lap, unfortunately.
Well, that's a good illustration of what I was talking about, is going off really can have some big consequences. It's such a fast track, Ewan, that when you do go into the grass, you're likely to hit something.
Yeah, it really depends where you go off through here, but wherever it is, whether it's miles and miles of grass, like it is on the outside of South Bend, because there's that patch of grass we just saw there, or indeed it's on the way to the roller coaster or out of turns 5 and 6 like we just saw there. There's either a wall there to collect you or grass. There's no tarmac runoff around here anywhere, really, and that is very punishing. That's exactly what you want to see from a racetrack, and that's one of the challenges of this venue.
Indeed, there's no gravel traps either around here to speak of to slow you down. So where you do hit that grass and there isn't a wall to hit, you go for a while. That was a little shallow there from Rodriguez, though he's holding tight to the back of Townend. As Justin sang, looks like he's had an off somewhere. Does he hit anything as the car eases up? It looks like he got a little luckier.
It looked like turn 1 to me, that did, on lap 2. But there is quite a lot of grass out there before you can hit a wall, especially with the new iRacing grass model, where it's not quite so icy anymore. On the grass, you can slow down before you hit the wall. I mean, it was a surefire thing at turn 3 back in the day that you would hit the wall down there if you went off through NASCAR Bend, and there's evidence on RaceSpotTV of me doing exactly that. It's very easy to do, but not so easy anymore because the grass is a little bit grippier these days, although still definitely a punishment for going off, and as I say, that punishment is never too far away around here.
Also another spot here where you don't want to go off through the climbing S's. It is so quick, and there's some serious crests at the apexes of each of those back and forth corners. Rich Minkler dragging along that rear tire after we saw that incident. That's not really much use. They do have a spare car, and he has in fact taken it, I can tell you. So after he drove it back to the pits here, he ditched the old machinery and came out with a new one.
Yeah, he had to. It's much shorter than towing back to pit lane, even when you're at the end of the lap like that. So that's why he drove it all the way in. Rodriguez very close to Townend, by the way, but he's going to back off again on the way to the end of the back straight into the roller coaster. I think he knows the danger here, that if he starts to battle side by side with Townend, he's going to get the biggest fight of his life, first of all, but then also that in turn is going to drag him back to those behind, which he really doesn't want to be anywhere near, because he wants to be safely within these podium places.
And he can afford to be patient, like you said, not just because of the points advantage in the championship situation, but he's got a long race here. So all he has to do is sit and wait. If Blake makes any sort of mistake, then all Bryce has to do is be within striking range.
Yeah, he absolutely just has to sit back here for the moment. I guess the only worry you'd have is that if Townend starts to slow down and starts to block you a little bit and starts to back you into those guys behind, is he going to get sort of trapped in a freight train situation, because the rest of the field are actually really close together, unlike these two who are getting it. But look at this back here. I think he'd be slightly concerned that if he got caught up in something like this, then it could really snowball very quickly and he could lose control of the scenario quite quickly, and that's of course control that you would have more of if you were in the race lead, and so he will be weighing that up at the moment as well.
Here is Chris Pizon, Logan Grotto for 5th place, but they're pulling along the other championship potential as Arthur Chan runs in 7th, but he's still where he started this race, hasn't made any inroads either, as the trio comes on to Madison Avenue once again. And there is a pretty hefty slipstream, but not enough of one, it seems. We haven't seen a whole lot of drivers get big runs up to the roller coaster.
Not too much yet, which is surprising. Rodriguez has been getting quite close, you can see there, but he's been backing away, and these guys back here not particularly getting close either. As we watch Arthur Chan here working away in 7th position at the moment, and indeed I think is pretty much entirely secure. A very solid 3rd place finish in the season, and as he's told us in the past, he's delighted with that, and he absolutely should be as well. It's a great performance this season from him.
Looks incredibly focused right now. A little bit of sigh of relief as he takes a breath here on the main straight. Like you said, not entirely straight up there, but at least enough of a break that he can maybe rest the brain for a moment. In the meantime, continues to hunt behind Pies with no opening quite yet. A lot of the top of the field seemingly in a bit of a stalemate.
Yeah, they are. And it's one of the problems with this circuit a little bit, is that it can be quite hard to overtake. To be fair, I don't really notice it normally being quite this difficult. I mean, they've got the big back straight, which should be helping them. That run towards the roller coaster, a chance to move down the inside or outside. Something interesting through there as well, because there's a bit of a debate as to which line you should take. Got the inside the first part or the second part, but at the moment the option is neither that these guys are taking. And it is surprising that so far in the first 10 minutes there's been so little change inside the top 10. In fact, only one car inside the top 10 was not there in qualifying.
This is Kevin Jokel. He's the one that may have lost the most of our drivers that have had incidents, down 4 since the start and in 12th. He's got Matthew Jokel actually just behind him as well there in the number 10. So the pair of them going to try and settle out the positions just outside of the top 10 at this stage. He gives a little bit of a look, but we're going to switch back up towards our front two once again. Rodriguez still hovering at under half a second behind the 5.75. The gap down to Siddall is still at about 2 seconds. So like you were saying, they haven't completely run away. He does need to be somewhat concerned on how close those behind him get, and especially if they get caught up by 5th on back. That group that we were watching, it was starting to grow. It goes all the way to Kerry Brooks now. Yeah,
it's a very, very big group back there, and that's what would make Rodriguez nervous. I think at the moment, though, Townend is, if he's not running to 100% of his ability, he's running enough percent of his ability to more than keep away from the rest of the field. Don't forget that Siddall and Isabel are a lot closer than the rest of the field, which is where he really needs them to start to fall to. If Townend finishes first and Rodriguez is 4th place, then there's going to be all sorts of countback stuff going on. So he'll probably want to avoid that and win on points. And so that's why we mentioned the top 3. Sven Leung goes for a spin through Oak Tree, trying to make that right-hander, double right-hander into all one go. And it's a pretty easy place to spin in these cars.
They'll pay that price all the way down the back straightaway. Things getting awful close ahead of Briggs, and he has to back out coming through South Bend. Loses a few car lengths in the process. This is becoming a part of that group that I was mentioning. They were catching up to Kerry Brooks, but it looks like Waltman, Briggs, and McNeely may have fallen off just slightly, as we can now see a gap between those cars. Definite trains forming here. Some packs and groups in the mid-pack just kind of clumping together.
Yeah, they are. And that's very much the case when it's difficult to overtake the leader of the group. It's everybody else gets stuck behind them, because whoever's in second trying to make that overtake gets slipstream from the leader of the group. And then they end up sort of all in one long line, and they find it easier to defend from the guy behind them, and it all just goes on down and down the line. But Rodriguez doesn't have that problem out front, and looks like on occasion he's sort of hinting at going for it on Townend.
Well, he's going for a pass. This is the first time we've really seen an attempt out of Rodriguez. Manages to at least get side by side, but Blake will hold him off once again. He goes defensive coming down to the left hook. He's not leaving anything to chance through here, but he is backing himself up now as Siddall has closed it down to 1 second. He's got to be careful about where and how much he defends.
Yeah, exactly. This is the scenario that Rodriguez would have been dreading a little bit. It's only one driver, which is still fine for him, so he won't get he won't get completely overrun yet. But this is the start of something here from Townend, and he's got to do this if he wants to win the title. He's got to defend hard.
Getting ever closer, becoming more and more of a threat now that he is right on the rear bumper. Is this finally going to be enough with that slipstream? Remember, this season they are allowed to, well, as they have in the past, actually, in the Pro class, modify the setup of the car however they want, so they could have a little bit less downforce to help them out in a straight line. Certainly seems like Bryce is good as he gets side by side, coming up into the roller coaster. He's on the wrong side of the main apex of the corner, but he gets the inside of the next two left-handers. What about coming down through Hogpen? They have to go back to single file, tries the undercut, but gets balked.
Well, he's going to have to get across quickly, Townend, and he does. So he's on the right-hand side of the road. Now Townend's got Rodriguez got a big decision to make. Do I go for it now, try and strike and get this race lead, or sit behind because Cyril's right there? Is Cyril going to get involved? He backs away, coming down in towards turn one, hinting that he maybe won't try this. Townend goes wide, and here comes Rodriguez through on the other side.
He's almost fully ahead, but again, a double left-hander once again with Townend holding the desired line. He somehow manages to hold off actually three left-handers as you come up to the left hook as well, and he'll slip back in front as we hop on board with Siddall. Siddall, no doubt, going to be hoping to try and take a victory here, as the only other driver to have won this season is Thomas Briggs. Otherwise, it's been Blake and Bryce hogging the glory.
Yeah, they certainly have. If you remember the first part of this season, three different drivers winning in the first three rounds. It was set up beautifully until those two started to just get away from the rest of the field. Unfortunately, Briggs has very much fallen away in the championship, and it's been left to these two to fight over the title. And boy, are they fighting for this now. Townend has realised what he's got to do. He's got to defend hard from Rodriguez, back him into the likes of Cyril and Isabel, and try and get them to overtake his championship rival as well.
It's making life difficult for the 575. It's similar to what we saw last lap, but he doesn't go for it this time, and he stays in line instead of attacking. Maybe not feeling safe with Siddall, much closer this time compared to last. And on top of it, Isabel is also there. It's now become a four-car fight.
Yeah, it's really going to put Rodriguez off the proximity of those other drivers, because every time he looks to the outside or whatever, he's going to think and fear that somebody is going to try and fill that void there. And Cyril didn't in towards turn one, which will give him a bit of confidence. Just relax him a little bit, but that actually this isn't going to be so difficult for me. And that Cyril and Isabel are going to just let this happen. I do wonder what they'll be thinking, seeing the two championship rivals up in front of them. I wonder how sort of ready they will be to actually get involved here.
Well, things were becoming a little bit spicy behind them, it looks like, as maybe Kerry Brooks has had an issue. He's fallen down a lot of spots very suddenly after the first corner. We continue to follow our leaders, and I think this might be that fight into turn one that we've seen. So there's Kerry Brooks. You can see side-by-side action between, I believe that is Pies and Chan. And then, oh, that may have been a little bit of contact, I fear.
Yeah, might have been. Is that Thomas Briggs in 8th place, I think? With just a bit of side-to-side contact with. Difficult to really tell who was at fault there, to be honest. Looked like a bit of just a racing incident towards turn number one, but here we are again as Briggs tries to get past off a Chan as well. Here comes Rodriguez on Townend again, but again, seems like he's just hanging back really in that second position. Let's see if he properly does though. Yep, he will hang back again at the end of the back straight.
Unfortunately, I'm not sure that there's much he can do strategically when it comes to the pit stops to try and overtake Townend. Both of them will undoubtedly want to go as late as possible. Although I say that, I guess if Blake really wanted to be, or Bryce wanted to be sneaky, he could try to save fuel now. Oh, his Cook, unfortunately, loses traction off of Oak Tree.
Yeah, just on the power there, coming out of the corner. Yeah, that'll be the thing for Rodriguez, I think, here. And I think he should do that because, yeah, he's well in the ideal position right now with Townend in front to save fuel. That's what Townend's got to be thinking about, as well as backing him into those others in behind, which, as I say, is really important for his championship. But he's also got to watch the fuel. Make sure that, you know, this will all be nothing if he just gets undercut during the actual pit phase. So he's got to think about saving fuel himself.
Big bobble there for the 13 of Logan Grotto. That was coming into the snake, but it looks like he managed to at least hold them off to something happen further? Oh, excuse me, this is live here that we're watching on the bottom of that battle for 5th place. Still being chased by Pies and Briggs, and appropriate through the snake with the cars behind him just serpentining as they follow in the slipstream. Getting very close there for Briggs, who is starting to become an issue for Pies.
Yeah, certainly is. Briggs has been overtaking been overtaking everybody so far, really, and not without aggression as well. So I don't want to be Christopher Pies really in that group, and seeing him cruising up to the back of you certainly. As Rodriguez again saves fuel at the end of the back straight. There doesn't seem to be much of it back here. Christopher Pies with a great run, but no, doesn't go for it. Sort of egged on by Briggs almost. He has a lock. Oh, that was overly brave on Logan Grado, and they're both in the grass.
Oh, goodness. And I don't even know if that was an actual attempt at a pass, especially that late into the corner. But whatever the case, it wound up with both of them at the side losing positions. Briggs now up to P5. That's 8 positions gained at a track that looks very tough to overtake. He's been doing phenomenal today.
Yeah, you might be right, by the way, about that. It's a very un-Christopher Pies thing to do, that was, into the roller coaster. So I suspect that wasn't intentional, actually. See it again here. Try and see if we can get any better picture of it. I think he did intend to. He just seemed to misjudge it, really. And the ever-diminishing returns there on the inside.
Yeah, that reverse angle definitely kind of shows he was committing early to try to get his nose in there, but that's about all he had was just the nose, and unfortunately, no wonder the car tried to shut the door, not thinking there was going to be Pies ready to try and snatch up the position. So back to the top 2 once again, as close as it's been. Some of the drama has been taken out by the hesitance from Rodriguez to try and overtake. However, look at Siddall this time. That's the closest we've seen him onto the back straight, but he doesn't get the good exit. For a second, I feared that Matt might have a chance to try and attack.
Yeah, I don't know how willing he's really being at actually getting involved here. And here comes Rodriguez. He's going to come to the left-hand side, realising that Siddall's getting a lot closer. And so now he has to strike on Townend, who's not going to give this one up at all. Outside, he will stay in front with the inside line. At the right-hander, but he goes too deep.
Cut back on him. He manages to get side by side once again, but it is so tough through this section to race wheel to wheel, and Rodriguez has to give up the ghost. He'll be back in second. Now he gets a second bite at the apple. It's the second longest straight here, coming out of Hogpen up to Horseshoe, and he's going to get another pull. In fact, he got a very good run, and now this forces Blake to once again cover the inside, but it wasn't long enough. They stay in order.
Yeah, in order again through turn 1, and Blake Townend will just stay in front of Bryce Rodriguez for another time round, but again not have the opportunity to get Rodriguez deeper in the pack where he needs him. Siddall is just sat there waiting, and I can't imagine he is going to get involved. He hasn't shown the look of someone who really wants to get involved with these two as of yet.
Not a great surprise. Christopher Pies was given a black flag for that incident, so he has to go and serve that one. We have lost 3 cars. Rich Minkler, for obvious reasons, I guess after his incident, decided there wasn't much point in carrying on this last round, but we've also lost McNeely and Sutton since the start of this race. 26 cars still circulating here in Virginia. So back onto the back straight rather, we go once again, and this time Siddall is much farther back.
Yep, and maybe a sign with Thomas Isabel also a bit further back, a sign that Townend is just increasing the pace. There's a spin through turn 14 for Jochen Bakker, and again just goes too fast into this section of corner. Oh, and he spins on the way down the hill as well. It's very, very easy to especially do that first part, and I guess his tyres are very warm, and that has contributed to a second half spin as well.
I don't think I've seen that paint scheme yet either on him, and thankfully we could see the car despite the transparent PNG background he's got on that machine. But as we return to Townend and Rodriguez once more, there we go. A look at the joke I'm making.
Makes you consider where you're going to put your roof, doesn't it, that livery?
It's another good interpretation. But it's not going to get him a good result today based on what we've seen so far. Siddall trying to catch back up to this group. Impressively, despite Isabel being close at one point, he's fallen back to nearly about 2 seconds. So it's mostly been 3 cars at this stage. Siddall not having to worry about what's behind him. He can just continue to push and catch up to that top 2. But he's going to need to really hustle here, as we are already a third of the way through the race.
Yeah, I do suspect that Townend has been increasing the pace ever since we had that initial moment where they were together as a quartet, really, that front 4. But now it seems to me that Townend has thought, this is getting a little bit close for comfort. If I lose the lead with 45 minutes to go, then it's really trouble time for me. So I very much need to push the pace on, just alleviate that pressure from Rodriguez. He'd still like Siddall and Isabel to be close, but it's clear that when Townend puts the pace on, they can't quite stay with it.
He's got another run. He's going to take a little bit of a look here, but then comes back to the race line, realizes that one was not on. Until he tries another attempt, let's give a quick mention to Princess Cruises, because they're the 2025 PCA title sponsor. As the official cruise vacation partner of Series 14, they provide exclusive offers, including world-leading itineraries across a fleet of 17 elegant ships, sailing to more than 330 global destinations. Reach out to the PCA concierge team to book your next adventure today by calling 833-679-2188. Bryce ventured a look, but he was not able to make it into a pass. Still continues to threaten. That was actually incredible judgment from Blake to not cover that and to know just how far back that 24 car was to shut the door.
Yeah, it's great judgment, and it's one of the perhaps underrated skills when you're a race leader like this, because it's very easy when you're the race leader and you've got someone who's similar pace to you, trailing you the whole time, to just defend into every corner. And I do speak sometimes, especially in the lower divisions, about sort of defending thin air, needless defending, as Chad Henson goes for a spin here after contact with Terence Tong, I think, through the final corner. Really quite far off to the side of the circuit there for Tong, who's down a long way now in this race as a result of that. But yeah, it takes a bit of trust of the driver behind you to do that, and also a bit of experience as well that Townend's clearly got. I mean, these two have got plenty of experience racing each other this season.
For sure. It's going to be hard to pull a surprise move on one another, because they, at this stage, probably know each other's tricks. Is this going to be a trick for Bryce Rodriguez? No, it will not. As he once again decides not to try and make a move here into the roller coaster. Although this time, we don't really see it in the rearview mirror, but I can tell you that Siddall got very close under braking into that last couple of corners. But out of Hogpin, they start to peel away once again from that number 15. And Rodriguez can continue to try and see what he can peel away from Blake Townend. He's got another head of steam, another bit of slipstream here, but just not enough straightaway. What about Sylvester Canny into the roller coaster? Another bit of side-to-side contact. We've seen a lot of that today.
Yeah, we have. And this is sort of almost a highlight reel and giving Bryce Rodriguez further, it's a highlight reel of reasons why Bryce Rodriguez hasn't fully committed on one of these moves yet. Because every time we've seen it, pretty much it's gone wrong. Obviously, we're not seeing the times where it has gone right as well. There have been some good overtakes up and down the field. But, yeah, so far we've seen a lot of times it has gone wrong as well. And that is really why Bryce Rodriguez is taking this with so much caution. And indeed, he can save a bit of fuel behind Townend. We heard it there as we were on board coming towards the roller coaster that time. He's just easing off the throttle before they really get to the end of the back straight there.
You might be thinking, well, how much can he actually save, especially at a twisty track like this? Well, honestly, all he needs is, let's say, half a second shorter pit stop. If that can get him track position, as we've seen, that's really all he's looking for, because it's not one of the slipstream races where he's going to get overtaken almost immediately. At least it doesn't seem like it at this point. So he just needs to do something to try and figure out a way to squeak by. Just so far, nothing is forthcoming for the number 24. Granted, we have to remember he is still in a good state, even if Siddall passes him. If he finishes third, he will still be champion, even if Townend wins.
Yeah, absolutely. This is the points buffer that he built up effectively in the last round at Zolder, when Townend qualified quite far down the field and on the night did well to gain positions, but in the end didn't gain anywhere near enough to sort of alleviate any sort of championship disadvantage that he knew he was going to have. And we knew it going into the last 2 rounds. We said it before the Zolder round. This championship is effectively 2 rounds, and it's about who can do better through those 2 rounds. When you start off with 2 of this quality, you start off with a 4th place finish in round 1. You know that you're in for a massive uphill challenge in race 2, and that's what Townend is experiencing tonight.
Nice move from Arthur Chan to get by Waltman. That's actually finally a 1 position up for Arthur Chan, because he was still sitting where he began. Waltman has been up 3 now that he's been overtaken, so still a pretty good day for the 707. And that's on, well, that was on our bottom screen. Now we've got Matthew Jokel just behind Kevin Jokel for what is 9th position, having gained some spots from the incidents we've seen in front of them throughout this race. A little bit of dirt up there on the top battle being kicked up as the drivers use every inch of track. That paved runoff is considered fair game, so they are allowed to use that to try and just get that wider exit and that little bit more speed.
It's one of the very few places where you can use the bounds outside of the white lines, really, to benefit your lap time, but it is one of those places. There's Matthew Jokel, just in behind Kevin Jokel. 2 relatives who I erroneously called brothers. I don't think you were here, Joe, last time. I accidentally did that. They're not brothers, of course. Kevin is Matt's dad. So there you go. That's cleared up from the last time I made that mistake. But they're running 9th and 10th, and to be fair, one of the rare occasions we see the 2 of them running together.
Well, I'm sure that Kevin's delighted he got mistaken for someone young for once, but yeah, they've been very matched on pace today, which has been a bit fascinating. These 2 very much matched on pace between one another. Ooh, as it's, once again, I'm seeing Rodriguez just make little bobbles as maybe he's pushing that little bit harder. Hopefully he doesn't let frustration come through. I almost feel like that's his worst enemy today, is he has to remain calm in this situation.
Yeah, it will be completely insane for him to be getting uncalm, to be honest. This is the best possible scenario for him. At the moment, there isn't a 4th or 5th driver who is quick enough to really stay with Townend and Rodriguez, and Siddle, who is the 3rd driver who's quick enough to stay at the front right now. There's not a 4th or 5th driver, and so if you thinking about this race in isolation, yes, it might be frustrating, but forget about the race. There's a whole championship to win here, and that is what Bryce Rodriguez is in absolute position to do right now. We'll see again what he does towards turn 14, but I think he's been getting very comfortable sat in this 2nd position, just controlling the scenario, really.
Oh, but he's going to go side by side this time, coming up into the braking zone. Just enough space between them, but it's not enough grip is the problem for Bryce. He will once again fall back into P2, but well judged to manage to get back in line before he gets attacked by Matthew Siddall. They'll go by the hotel there, the lodging up on the entry to pit lane. You can actually stay in those and get to be right there as the drivers get ready for practice in the morning. It's quite loud, I can assure you that. And coming down into turn 1, drivers already getting ready to head towards the other end of the circuit once again, past the halfway point of this race as well. But we are not expecting any pit stops. Going long has been the call for pretty much the entire season. So we do expect them to make it probably until about 15 minutes to go.
Yeah, and certainly in this top 3, we've got the scenario where it's very beneficial to all 3 of the drivers to stay out for as long as they possibly can. And that's exactly what they are going to do here, you would imagine. And with the fuel saving that's been going on for Rodriguez and probably Siddall as well, there's probably even more fuel in those tanks than what we normally see. So this could be a very, very long opening run from these guys. It's about who's behind them and who's going to stop early behind them. Most recent pit stop was for Brett Holmes, and really one of very few drivers to have come in for a non-damage stop.
I'm seeing 12.7 seconds, so yeah, that is likely a scheduled stop, or at least a stop that will take care of himself to the end. There is a bit of a look this time, but definitely nothing like what we saw last time from the 24. And he will continue to sit and wait behind Blake. Matthew, you mentioned potentially saving fuel for him. It feels like he isn't always completely up on them. I feel like this is a bit more of a struggle for the 15.
Yeah, I do feel like that as well, actually. Maybe he's playing a bit tricks on us there, and he's just hanging back so as to stay out of their way, really, which I guess is possible, but just feel like he's having to labour a little bit more to stay with these guys at the front of the field, and that's understandable. As I say, I think Townend has just slightly pushed his pace on a little bit more to sort of get rid of some of the attacks that Rodriguez was firing on him. I mean, after the first 10 minutes of the race, where Townend set off pretty normally, it's gotten a lot more defensive since then, but after those initial moments where Rodriguez nearly got past, Townend realised, if he overtakes me, this championship's definitely over, so I've got to just push the pace on a little bit more to stay in front of him.
So while Isbell has drifted away from those top three, Thomas Briggs, with his charge up through the field, is already caught up to the 257. There you can see on the bottom screen, the yellow and black is Isabel chasing the all-black car. Briggs is the yellow and black with Isabel in the all-black car, having to maybe play a little bit of defense. We'll see, as Thomas has made a little bit easier work out of all those behind. Is he going to have a similar easy time with the 257?
Yeah, let's see here. Thomas Briggs has certainly been the one to watch so far with the overtakes. Up 8 positions, much like what Townend's role really was through the Zolder race. Briggs is having to do that again here himself today, and it is a bit of a shame that Briggs is not involved in the championship fight, considering he started off so well, but disqualified from one race and outside the top 20 on 2 occasions in races he has attended this season, including last time at Zolder. So that's really why he's not been setting up a championship run on such a competitive season.
It takes the entire package, and I mean, we've seen that in pretty much all the classes, that consistency really does win you championships. As he goes for it once again. This time, though, he gets farther alongside. It's going to switch back coming up to NASCAR Bend. Townend sends it in deep. Could he maybe cut underneath him, get the inside into the left hook? He tries to do it, but no, Blake is wise to it and prevents him from getting the exit that he needs. This has been such a chess match. You mentioned a little bit of a reference to that earlier. These two have just been having a heck of a time figuring out how to find a crack in the armor. This time, whoa, as that was a late defense from Blake coming up to the climbing S's.
Yeah, borderline block as well. That's what Rodriguez will argue. Definitely reacted to my advances there on the way towards the S's. And we'll see what the stewards decide to do about that. Rodriguez will be hoping that they do something, but now is the time he's started to put a little bit more pressure on. He might have done all the fuel saving he wants to. Now he wants to go on the offensive.
You know, from above, it does look like the so-called Pruitt fade, where he just kind of was already heading that direction, and the gap eventually closed. So I'm not sure that it'll be investigated, especially now that we got that above perspective on it. But yeah, initially it did look incredibly sketchy.
Yeah, one of those... in fact, it's the only move I can think of in sports that's named after a person who won't be very pleased about it, actually. All of the others are quite complimentary, if you think about other sports. But anyway, yeah, it's a bit... I didn't see anything particularly wrong with that, to be honest. I think maybe the first angle we looked at it live maybe made it look worse than it really was there. That one from the air, for me, just looked a little bit, you're allowed to move to defend, of course. I don't think it was too bad. Really, but when you're in the car, when you're in that second position, maybe Bryce Rodriguez will feel a bit differently about that. Maybe it'll just turn the heat up a bit between these two.
Back into the left hook. This is where it took place last time, out of the snake up towards the climbing S's. A bit of a surprise, honestly. Not somewhere you often will see cars get good enough runs that they can even do that, even though it is a very high-speed section. And he'll regain this time, but he doesn't manage to get the wheel-to-wheel action we nearly saw before. So as we carry on now towards the final third of the race, we still have 25 cars, but I can tell you it's not looking like we'll have any sort of lap traffic, at least not major amounts of lap traffic if we do. So it's kind of good news, bad news scenario. If you're Bryce, you may have been hoping for a little help in that realm. If you're Blake Townend, probably a sigh of relief that it's going to be a straight fight.
Yeah, maybe. I can't really tell who would benefit most from traffic here, because I sort of feel like the unpredictability of anything really could help Townend if one or two things go his way, but maybe, as you say, it wouldn't, as he's the leader. And often when you are the leader trying to lap people, it does go wrong for you first. But the only drivers there anywhere near to lapping are only there because they've already pitted. And it's such a long racetrack that we're not likely to see very many more of those, because those who have had major damage earlier on, like Minkler and Sutton, both retired from this race when they had those troubles, and so did some of the others down the back end of the field. Oh, Townend makes a mistake, and is that his season going up right there at turn one?
I said it earlier that Bryce needed to just simply wait for a mistake, and there it came. Not even when he was feeling the most pressure, just outbraked himself down into the horseshoe, and that moves him to third. Rodriguez absolutely will seal it up now where he sits up at the top spot, and Siddall is still about a second behind. This has changed the complexion entirely.
And as you say, it's not even under that much pressure, but Blake Townend there has just outbroken himself, and that little bit of dirt there has ended his season's hopes. Unless Bryce Rodriguez makes a big mistake from here, he's going to be champion, because he's leading this race. He looks fast, and he's extending his margin already. Nearly a second over Siddall, over 2 seconds over Blake Townend, who will be furious with himself for that. It was a long shot anyway, because Briggs in fourth place is over 8 seconds behind, and then Isabel nearly 10 seconds back in fifth place to make it more comfortable. But even so, Townend will be unhappy that that is the way that this race turns.
With this breaking up that fight, that gives us a good chance to once again mention Princess Cruises, because they are the 2025 PCA title sponsor. As the official cruise vacation partner of Series 14, they provide exclusive offers, including world-leading itineraries across a fleet of 17 elegant ships sailing to more than 330 global destinations. Reach out to the PCA concierge team to book your next adventure today by calling 833-679-2188. So I was trying to look at farther down in the field like we've got here, battle for P8. There is a little bit of a gap in front of the group, but I don't think that's far enough back that Blake could pit early and slip into that, because that's about all he can hope for at this stage now, is maybe try to pull something tricky on that front, unless he really finds some pace and catches back up. But this battle here on screen, also plenty good. Logan Grotto leading Matthew Jokel, Kevin Jokel, and Enrico Gregorato, four-car fight for P8.
Yeah, these are the fights that we've been missing out on so far, because we've been following the lead fight, and rightfully. But there is plenty going on further down the field. And as you say, as a result of these groups, are gaps that maybe Blake will be able to drop himself into, but we've heard and seen time and time again just what a disadvantage it is to come into the pit lane early. So I don't expect that to change now. Even Blake getting desperate here, trying to take the race lead away from Bryce Rodriguez. I think he's going to find that very, very difficult to actually make work. Even pitting a little bit earlier, but obviously on heavier fuel. And you do run more risk of traffic as well, even if there are some big gaps to drop into.
Did see just a slight off at one brief moment from Rodriguez. That was coming through NASCAR Bend, probably pushing to try and see if he can break away from Siddall to cut the slipstream. Meanwhile, Rado's definitely feeling it as that bright blue number 10 nearly gets to the rear bumper, but does not make any contact. He falls back for a moment. He's going to need to get the exit here out of Hogpen. It doesn't look like he has it, as Logan absolutely takes off.
Yeah, you do see these battles ebb and flow down here a little bit more, especially around this circuit where things are so easy to get wrong. Some sections, if you get one part of it wrong, your next couple of corners are thrown off as well. And sometimes it's quite a hard circuit to actually get a rhythm going through as well, because every corner comes one after the other after the other. You sometimes find yourself in that little bit of difficulty with line selection as James Hoof comes into the pit lane. 11.6 standard procedure, it looks like. And those first scheduled pit stops beginning to happen here just over 15 minutes before the end.
Oh, but he's coming out just behind 2 cars, it looks like. I think that's Campbell and Leung. Yeah, it's unfortunately not quite timed out the way he wanted. If he was in front of them, he'd actually have a huge bit of space to try and run his next few laps. The good news is I do expect we'll see most drivers in within probably the next 3 laps or so.
It can't be long now. We're getting to that stage in the race where the final stops of the season will be made, and quite encouragingly for Blake Townend at the front, by the way, back to within a second of Bryce Rodriguez. So I think back to my point earlier that I don't think he was driving to his full potential the whole time while at the front of the field there, because he knew what needed to be done, and they're all in at the front.
Kerry Brooks actually came up and gave Mike Patterson a huge bump draft. So I wonder if maybe Brooks is feeling like he lacks a little bit of the straight line speed, as now we get the drivers in from the lead. In fact, all 3 of them in. Oh, as I think Townend just hesitated. Oh, yeah, he missed his stall. He's had to make multiple stabs. No, he's had to go beyond. Okay, there it is. He didn't pull up at all.
Dear.
Wow. It's gone from bad to worse, and this is going to be a massive disadvantage. Cone to cone, his 2 rivals did about 35.6, and Blake did a 44.6. That's 10 seconds lost. Wow.
That is absolutely massive. Let's see a replay of that if we can in a moment, because it's very unusual that you see that in one of these races. I think he felt that his pit box was being shared somehow. I don't know. It would have to be a complete brain fade, because you'd never share with someone you qualify so near to, even at the smallest racetracks. I mean, Fruxton has 13 boxes. You'd never share them with anyone who's anywhere near you in that race, even there. So I don't know what he was thinking. I'll try and see this again here. See what on earth is going on.
He may have forgot that he was pole sitter and thought he was between them.
That's what I mean, yeah. So he's so expecting to be, he's expecting to be between the 2 of them, it looks like. So he's looking for the man, where is he? I can't see where I'm supposed to be stopping. And of course, you can drive through the other cars in our racing, so you actually can't see anything other than somebody else's dashboard. And then you finally find yours at the end. But I think you're absolutely right that he forgot that he qualified on pole earlier.
Kind of one of the quirks of iRacing that in the real world, you would have a pit box that is set, you know where it is. It changes after qualifying according to where you qualified in the race. Meanwhile, next group of cars being led by Briggs find their spots, hit them thankfully a little bit easier, and they'll lose that lead back to Rodriguez. The question is, where is Townend going to come out in this? Now, it'll be kind of academic at this point, because he's it doesn't matter where he finishes. I believe he'll still likely be second in the championship, as we watch from above. And I think, he is going to be behind them, if not very close. Oh, he could maybe get by both. He gets 1, he gets 2, but he goes too deep.
Oh, again. He breaks too late for turn 1 again. And, well, this is just going from bad to worse. 6th place now. He's actually behind Arthur Chan. As you say, he's in no danger of losing second in this championship, but he's behind the driver who is 3rd in this championship. That's Arthur Chan. And it's not even a top 5 on the final day for Blake Townend. In these last 2 rounds, it's just unraveled for him just a little bit.
Yep. I fear that Christmas sweater has been slowly undone, and he has now found himself all the way down in 6th position. Now, Arthur Chan ahead of him will not give him enough to lose that 2nd spot in the championship, as Arthur is so far back. Arthur definitely needs a win, and Blake to probably finish pretty far down. I honestly haven't figured out the math on that one, just because it was such a distant thing here coming into this race. But Bryce Rodriguez here at the front, he needed to just run not a flawless race, but definitely a race that showed he can stay cool, calm, and collected, and that he has. He leads by about 0.7 of a second.
Yeah, and don't count Matthew Siddle out of this now. I think Siddle, so far in this race, has been a bit nervous about getting in between the two championship rivals, and you can see why. As an outsider there, you don't want to be the driver who's prevented somebody from winning a title. But now that that's sort of settled, and he won't know the permutations, but I think at this point he's right to not really care about it. He can properly give it a go on overtaking Bryce Rodriguez here, and I think he will do. The problem will be for him is the same problems that everyone's been having around here, certainly in the first 10-15 minutes of the race they did. Overtaking was quite difficult, and Siddle's going to need to be a lot closer than what he is at the moment to actually do an overtake.
Well, the situation is kind of on the side of Matthew Siddle too, because you mentioned he didn't want to get involved potentially. Well, there's also now the fact that Bryce won't want to throw this thing away. So for Matt, he can go on the aggressive and know that Bryce has to preserve his car.
Yeah, he could play that card. So far, from what I've seen, to be fair, from Bryce, I don't think that will necessarily work. He seemed, even when he was in pretty comfortable position with only Blake and Matthew Siddle around him, seemed pretty willing to get in amongst it, try and make some moves, and take a few risks in trying to take the race win. So normally, I think on a championship leader, that might work, play that card, but I'm not sure Bryce Rodriguez will fall for that. I think he's going to give him a proper race if he's going to get past him at all.
Thomas Briggs now with a gain of double digits, up 10 from where he gridded. Still has Thomas Isabel behind him, and Arthur Chan has kept up here. So we got a three-way fight for the last step on the podium with now 11 minutes to go. Briggs with the track position. Isabel, I think, going to have to get a little bit close in this as we watch the 50 of Chan try to get the launch off of Hog Pen and down the main straight. Does do a pretty decent job. Starts to pull in Thomas, but I don't think he's close enough.
Oh, Siddle's taking the lead from Rodriguez, who's gone off at turn one. Bryce Rodriguez breaks too late now and goes off. The championship leader, champion in waiting, makes a mistake that if Blake Tannen was here might just have given him a bit of life, but it won't on this occasion. Rodriguez loses the lead. The only thing he loses is at 30 points of his very large championship margin.
Thankfully keeps it from going too far off. I checked the temperature a little bit earlier after we had the off from our former leader, Townend, and it's only 88 Fahrenheit. So it's honestly in a pretty good sweet spot. A little bit surprised that we've now seen both of them have trouble getting the car woed up by the end of that main straight. But again, a bit inconsequential for Bryce Rodriguez, just maybe not the glory that he was hoping to take the championship in, as Siddle will be able to overtake him and finally become the fourth different driver to win this season.
Yeah, that would be nice to see. 4 different winners in 7 rounds is not bad at all, especially when you consider there's been 3 victories for Bryce Rodriguez. It's a very good spread across the field. I don't think it's quite done yet with 9 minutes to go. It just seemed that Rodriguez is a bit quicker and is reeling him back in already, so maybe there will be a fight late on there, but it really won't change very much here whether Rodriguez wins or not. It's just either 140 or 170 points at the end of the season between the top two. And to be fair, 170 does seem like a lot for the season that we've seen, but how many times do we say that? The results sheet and the history books definitely don't always tell the story.
Absolutely. The good news for Bryce, this 7.5 second gap to this battle that we're watching is big enough that, Bryce doesn't have to worry about a rear guard, I think. So we continue to follow Briggs, Isabel, and Chan, see how they wrap this one up. Briggs has been on the attack for much of this, it feels like. He'll have to now face the defense as Isabel continues to hunt him. Chan sitting in behind. I fear we may have had a problem with Kerry Brooks, because I see on the timing screen that he's losing a lot of positions. He's already had a bad day.
See already the damage. Oh dear, the damage to the front end. That is quite a dive. I'm not sure who that is. 29, Michael Patterson, that is. 13th. That's from quite a long way back. But Kerry Brooks, the one who is sent into a spin.
We've had a black flag recently, but I think that's from the sim for incident points for Ben Leung. And he's just serving that now. We'll see if anything is said on Patterson for that one. And, Ben has also had his own off, we're seeing now. And that is one of the more unfortunate places to wind up. You can see just how massive that field is on the inside, coming from South Bend all the way to the back straight.
How can Ben Leung have a black flag for incidents, by the way? And I didn't think we had those anymore.
Yeah, that's a good point. Maybe that was exit then.
Yeah,
would be my guess.
It's got to be speeding, isn't it? Because we're straight back to the old days of straight disqualifications in this series for incident points. So I do feel like that's probably the reason. Either way, it doesn't really matter. He's going to finish 25th no matter what happens here, because he's a very, very long way back now. Finishes serving that penalty, and as I say, will be a very long way away as we follow Alpha Chan here, looking for a podium maybe to cap off the season behind Thomas Isabel and Thomas Briggs.
Positioned well to potentially do it. He might need a little luck, I think, in the process with two cars that he has to overtake. Certainly seems to have the speed. He's managed to take 2 spots since the beginning of this race. Just sits and hovers behind the 257. Maybe trying to size him up, figure out how to play the end of this one. Now, the pit stops are over. There's no trickery to be had. It's going to be a straight fight on the track itself.
Yeah, it will be. As many of these positions are going to be sorted out by the way, at the end of this race. Less than 6 minutes to go. There's a lot to play for, including this. The battle for the race lead. Bryce Rodriguez right in the slipstream, and look at his intention now compared to earlier on where he was very patient. There isn't much time for patience anymore because we're winding down here. It might even be just 3 laps to go when they get to the line here.
Yeah, he had just gained those last few tenths on Madison Avenue coming out of Oak Tree. He'd been reeling him in. Now he's within the slipstream, and there are precious few chances to try and take that victory. What kind of game does he play? Like you said earlier, he was willing to go side by side, but now that it's not against his rival, is it worth trying to get that stuck in? He does force a defense from Matt, who will hold on to the lead, at least for the time being.
Yeah, but this is going to feel like a very long 3 laps for Sido. You could see him already looking in the mirrors. That's never a great sign when you're the leader here. And already Rodriguez getting into his mirrors. Some credit has got to go to him for this, for putting the pressure on Sido, making him feel like he has to defend a long, long time before he actually has to.
Just want to note that Mike Patterson did get a black flag for that contact. He is serving that now. This is close. Last time we saw Rodriguez go for a move there, it did not work. And this time he decides not to try and attack coming into the S's as he follows behind. Surely he's going to be focusing on Oak Tree here, Ewan. That seems to be, to me, the smart place to try and set up for.
I mean, it looks to me almost as if he's trying to make the move in every single zone at the moment, which is not normally the best strategy, but when you're so quick compared to the driver in front of you, it just seems to be defending all of the time. Doesn't end up being the worst idea in the world. And now we'll see what line he decides to use, Sidol. He's going to have to pick one at some point once he's done weaving around on the straight. And here comes Rodriguez now over the top of the hill. He's going to be alongside very early here. He's going to be forced on the long way, though, through the roller coaster. He's got the inside for the first part. Sidol not braking enough, late enough, brave enough. And Rodriguez drives right round him.
What a comeback from the 24. Somehow manages to make a difficult overtake late in the race after his own error on his own, really, with no pressure once again. All he has to do is nail these last couple laps. Just 2 or 3 to go here. I'll have to try and do the math, but now he once again has that track position, although under braking. Matt starts to show his nose down to the inside of the horseshoe.
Nearly locked up there, went straight into Rodriguez, but got away with it on that occasion. I mean, just not brave enough, not late enough on the brakes for turn 14 there for me, Matthew Siddle. And you can understand that he doesn't want to take out the champion in waiting and cause a stir in the last race of the season, but he'd have to do it an extraordinary number on Rodriguez to change that scenario in the next few moments. So he could have been a bit braver there for me and could have defended a bit harder, but you know, you could tell he was running scared for a long time there. He was defending a long time before he really had to, and that would have given Rodriguez a lot of confidence that he was doing that. But now all of a sudden, now he's in second place, so suddenly looks more comfortable sort of attacking, although he's only going to have one lap after this one to do it.
I'm sure the slipstream has some play in that, and these long straightaways will keep you at least close. We've seen a lot of the trains forming throughout this race, so I have a feeling that has been a factor in some of the fights we've been witnessing. He's going to regain some of that ground coming up Madison Avenue once again, but I think this might be white flag. It's going to be tight. We'll see as this time they break and Matt's not able to try and re-attack to take that lead away. What about coming out of Hogpen? That could be another opportunity now that he's closed in a little bit here. If he can withstand the buffeting through these corners and get the launch, he could get ever closer. And we will be one lap to go this time by, I can confirm.
Yep, the white flag will be waving, but not by much, but it will be. This is the zone where Siddle nearly took Rodriguez out last time. He's braking late again. Oh, he doesn't quite get down the inside there, and Rodriguez was undeterred. He didn't even think Siddle would get alongside him, turned in normally as if he wasn't there, and he does get away with it on this occasion. Siddle's going to have to push hard now to have that one last go into 14.
Also, it might be a bit more of a point of pride, but Blake Townend is almost caught back up to the battle for P3. If they start tussling with one another, he could maybe snatch a couple late positions here, but it'll take a phenomenal effort from him. This one for the lead here on the final lap of Series 14 between Bryce Rodriguez and Matt Siddall. Matt still looking for his first win of Series 14. Bryce looking to cap off a championship in style here as he comes up to Oak Tree. He's got at least a decent margin, but it's more about the exit, and they get awful close. But what about the run? I think it's better for Bryce.
Yeah, I think it is. It was actually a mistake initially, I think, from Bryce into turn 11, where he went a bit too deep, but actually he just turned it around and made it into a good exit off of 12, which is extraordinary. Is Siddle close enough on the way towards turn 14? I don't think he is.
Just not quite there. There's still a car length and a half between them coming up into the braking zone. All he has to do is be solid coming out of Hogpen. And Bryce Rodriguez is going to look at 4 wins on the season to clinch a title. And what a job it has been from the number 24. He is home free from here in Virginia. He will unofficially be your champion, Bryce Rodriguez, with a win.
Great win as well. He got rid of the pressure from Blake Townend in the early part of this race and then controlled it after that. Even made a mistake of his own towards turn 1, which shows how difficult this circuit is. But not even Siddle could get past him at the end there, and a win caps off a very, very good season from Bryce Rodriguez. 4 victories, 3 in the last 3 rounds.
I mean, you want to finish strong, and I'd say he's done that. And the frustrating bit of information for Blake Townend is he wound up 10 seconds off of Rodriguez. If he hadn't have had those issues in pit lane, could have still been fighting him for that win potentially. As the rest of the drivers cross the line, almost all of them finishing on the lead lap. Ben Leung, I think the only one going to be finishing laps down here today. Everybody else managing to complete all of these 33 laps here today. And as we said, Bryce Rodriguez should unofficially be your champion here with that first place. Matt Siddall will at least get himself another second, as Thomas Briggs, what a great job to get up to the podium there in third. Thomas Isabel was 4th and Arthur Chan was 5th. Right behind them, Blake Townend did catch them, but just didn't have the time to try and make any passes. Jonathan Waltman was 7th and Logan Grotto was 8th. Enrico Gregorato, P9. Matthew Jokel with a solid top 10. Rodney Campbell was 11th. James Huth, who was an earlier pitter, wound up in 12th. Lee Peterson, unfortunately, down in 13th. Justin Sang, P14 from him, while Kevin Jokel was 15th. Kerry Brooks was 16th today, with Chris Pies falling back to 17th. It was Chad Henson in 18th and Michael Patterson in 19th. Christopher Cook finishing out your top 20. Brett Holmes was 21st, Ryan LeMay in 22nd, Joachim Baker with a few issues out there, still finished on the lead lap in 23rd. Terrence Tong, last one on the lead lap, in 24th. Then Ben Leung served his penalty, but was in his pit stall for a long time, so he was 5 laps down. Canny, McNeely, Minkler, and Sutton were all DNFs here today. I think we're waiting to get to chat with our champion in waiting, Bryce Rodriguez. Don't see him ready for us quite yet. I do see that we have Matt Siddall, so I wonder if we want to chat with him while we wait for Bryce to come and join us, because I'm sure he's celebrating pretty big right now. Matt, it was so close to finally getting a win here at the last race. Looks like it just wasn't meant to be, but I have to say, from our perspective, it looked like you gave it 100%. Matt, do you have a copy? This is Joe up in the booth. He might not have us turned on, unfortunately. So I'm not sure that we'll even get to talk to Matt. Hopefully we'll get to talk to somebody. It's the last race of the season here. We got Thomas Briggs. Let's give it another shot here with third place instead, with an incredible run up the order. Thomas, man, everybody else seemed to have extreme trouble making passes today, but you went by 10 cars. What's the secret?
I'm not quite sure. It all went by really quick. I just kind of tried to stay, keep the tires under me. I felt like I was driving on ice the whole time, but I just took the opportunities when they came. I thought I was cooked, honestly. I didn't think I'd end up on the podium at all. But I don't know. I was just able to sneak by them when the opportunity was there. Just send it and see what happens. There's a couple times it was a little scary, but I made it through.
I see that only one qualifying lap got registered. Unfortunately, we didn't get to witness what happened. What put you back there?
Yeah, well, I didn't have any practice, so I just kind of got thrown right into it and had to figure it out. I was really struggling with the car and the setup, and then right before I gridded up, my friend Logan gave me his setup to try out, and it ended up being pretty nice.
I think that's a bit of an understatement considering how well you were able to race through these other cars. So it was obviously a bit of an up and down season. You were the only other driver to take a victory besides Rodriguez and Townend. Are you going to come back in season 15 and do your best to see if you can maybe rectify some of the errors?
Absolutely, yeah. Season 15 starts tomorrow for me, so definitely going to be back in it. This season was a lot of fun. It was, I think, the best I've ever driven, and I made some mistakes and I've learned a lot of lessons, so I'm ready for the next season, and hopefully we can get the championship.
Well, I like that optimism. Best of luck and congratulations ending on a podium.
Thank you.
That was Thomas Briggs, who finished in P3 today. Now it looks like we got the man of the hour ready to join us, Bryce Rodriguez. Let's talk to our champion and see how he felt about that race. Because Bryce, at first it seemed like a complete nail biter as we watched you and Townend battle it out. Then both of you seemed to make mistakes in a turn one. What do you think was causing drivers to outbrake themselves so much into that corner?
I think it was probably fatigue. I mean, didn't qualify on pole. Blake was super quick, so for the race my kind of goal was to stay behind him and try to make a move. The slipstream was super powerful, but he made that car about 3 times as wide as it actually is, so he made it super tricky. Just kept applying pressure, didn't give up at all, and then he went deep into one, and then after that I just had to bring the car home, made a small mistake and mistake some of the braking boards. So a long race like this where the temperature gets warmer and warmer, the tires are constantly changing, less grip, it's tough to stay consistent lap after lap, but ended up working out. So
This has been a heck of an end to the season with multiple wins racking up and ending it on the top step, not just in the points, but on the racetrack. Do you feel like you're in some of the best form you've ever seen yourself be in?
I'd like to think so, but you never know. Next season or the season after that, it's always going to be improving. Try to work on what I didn't do so well for this season. I should have to make a big thank you to my partners, Mo Handsome. They were supporting me this whole season, and also my coach for the better half of the second season, Colton Derry, over at React Motorsports. You can find them on Instagram. But yeah, we'll just have to wait and see for next season. Of course, just going to bring it my A game and just do the absolute best that I can.
Indeed. It's always going to be hard to defend the crown, but the first step is done. You've managed to take it. Congratulations, and savor the victory.
Thank you, guys. I'll see you guys next season.
That was our winner, Bryce Rodriguez, an unofficial champion in the pro class. Last but not least, we have Matt Siddall. I think we're going to give it one more try, and it looks like Ewan has caught up with him.
Yes, welcome in, Matt. Do you have a copy this time? Can we hear you?
Yes, I do.
Excellent. How was your night tonight? I mean, so close, but yet so far. You could describe it as just less than 0.4 of a second between yourself and Bryce at the end there. How are you feeling at the end of that race? Disappointed you couldn't quite bring it home in the end?
Not really, because Bryce is just so fast. Right? He was not driving at full speed, and when I got past him when he made that mistake, and he caught up to me so fast, I knew he had something in the tank, and it was going to be hard to compete. So finishing second to someone like Bryce is a fantastic result for me, and caps the season off. I had a poor start and a strong finish, so really pleased.
Yeah, exactly. It's a very strong finish to the season. 2 top 5s in the last 2 rounds, and your first podium of the season right at the very end. But what were those earlier rounds like to cope with? I know you missed a round to begin with the season, but some difficult results after that. How did you sort of get through those early this season?
Yeah, it was tough. I was sitting, I had a few moves that I tried to pull, and ill-advised moves, I guess. I got some license points, and just had to calm down and knuckle down and get some practice in, and take this one seriously. And the endurance race last week at this track really helped.
Congrats on a second place finish here tonight at VIR, and thanks for chatting to us at the end of the season as well.
Hey, thanks a lot.
Thanks very much. That's Matt Siddall, finishes second place in the final round of the season.
Which wraps things up for the pro class in Series 14. But we will see you soon, because Series 15 is starting in just a few weeks, and will feature the popular Porsche GT3R. So they're going to switch cars for the next one. Make sure and tune in for that. However, tomorrow night, December 4th, we are going to be back for the club class finale. A big thank you goes to the steering committee at PCA Sim Racing, as well as to our team tonight, Ramiro and Ewan. And thank you so much for watching. I'm Joe Peak. Until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.